Identity politics. What are they? Who hates them? And why is the right the best at them? And why is that really scary? Hey Newsbroke, before we begin, a minor trigger warning. We're going to be talking today about race, gender,
and Hillary Clinton.
So why are we talking about identity politics now? Well, it's because they were everyone's favorite scapegoat after the 2016 election. It came from the right, obsessed with what they see as an obsession.
Democrats' obsession with identity politics.
This obsession with identity politics.
I love stories, so here's one. It's about a candidate and a party who relied on identity politics so much it forgot their own country. It's about a candidate who got so obsessed over being a woman, she forgot she was human.
Cool story, bro. Now tell the one about the president who was so human, he implied he wanted to bone his own daughter. But surprisingly, it also came from liberals.
We cannot be a caucus of identity politics.
Ease up on the identity politics.
Senator Bernie Sanders, he thinks the Democratic Party right now should move away from what he calls identity politics.
Et tu, Bernie? Wait, back up. What are identity politics anyway? And why is every white guy on YouTube angry about them? To find out, I'll now toss to T1J, a black man on YouTube, to explain.
Hello Newsbroke. So what are identity politics? Well, basically it's any political belief that stems from your identity. For example, your nationality or class or race or gender, your sexuality, your geography, your language, basically anything you belong to other than like Earth or the internet. And we all have identities, so identity politics should be a neutral term. But these days, it's mostly used to refer to politics that take on issues that affect people of color, women, and the LGBTQ population. So, you know, issues like police brutality, immigration reform, and reproductive rights. Because apparently only minorities care about those issues. So basically, that's identity politics, or at least that's how people talk about it these days. If you want to know more about how I feel about identity politics, I actually did a whole video about it on my own channel, youtube.com/the1janitor.
Thanks, T1J, but, like, you're black, so you're biased.
Well, you're half Chinese and half Italian.
Yeah, so half white. Half is biased. Anyway, we'll check back with you later. It's true, at times it did feel like Clinton over-relied on identity politics.
Secretary Clinton, how would you not be a third term of President Obama?
Well, I think that's pretty obvious. I think being the first woman president would be quite a change from the presidents we've had up until this point, including President Obama.
Is there a policy difference?
Anderson, let me just come off that amazing applause and tell you it's all on my website at W as in woman, W as in woman, W as in woman, dot, as in period, as in I used to get them, dot Hillary, Rod Woman, Clinton, dot. Yes, we've all heard it. People on the right and the left saying that Clinton talked too much about gender and not enough about jobs and the economy. But according to a study of her campaign speeches by a reporter at Vox, Clinton spent very little time saying words like Latino, women's rights, and gay. In fact, more than anything else, she talked about jobs and the economy. But I get it though. She says jobs and America hears vagina, vagina, vagina. But here's the difference. While liberals might worry about the tactical error with discussing identity politics, the right gets defensive at the mere mention of issues that affect minorities, like the reaction to Black Lives Matter protests, the reaction to the Women's March, and Ann Coulter all of the time.
People love to be self-righteous, and that's what a lot of this political correctness and the identity politics is being used as. And it gives, you know, sort of boring people without any meaning in their lives and who aren't particularly bright, it gives them a way to say, no, that's a microaggression, and then, ooh, I have a cause, I must be an important person.
You've just described your job. If you couldn't rail against identity politics, no one would know who you are, Anne. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, because it's probably black. But why worry about issues that affect minorities when your party largely captures white voters? Conservatives probably don't have to worry about being stopped and frisked, questioned about their legal status, and don't have to explain their sexuality to Aunt Jan on Thanksgiving. Getting the far right to pay attention to the issues of anyone from another perspective other than their own is like trying to get President Trump to pay attention to a security briefing. This map of North Korea is boring, okay? It doesn't even show all the states I won. But the right swears up and down that identity politics is just a liberal game.
And I would argue that the left basically perfected identity politics. It's very effective, but it's very divisive. And we on the right should not come anywhere close to it.
But you're closer than you think, Rai. Just listen to how G.I. Jesus, Vice President Pence, begins nearly every single speech.
I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican, in that order. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican, in that order. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican, in that order.
In other words, I'm white, and super white. Can you imagine if a politician said, I'm a woman, a Muslim, and a liberal in that order? Ann Coulter would immediately get a lifetime of book deals. So it's ridiculous for the right, or even the left for that matter, to get so bent out of shape about identity politics. Because while yes, it can be a political tool to rally certain bases of voters, it's not just a game played by women and minorities. Trump is a master of it.
Do you think when he calls Mexicans rapists and criminals, that's not identity politics? Do you think when he goes after Muslims and says we're going to put them in a registry, that's not identity politics? I don't know what the hell you call it, but in my book, that's identity politics.
Yes, Latina queen! And yet, we keep hearing Hillary lost because she couldn't connect to the white working class, while Trump did. But a study showed that where Clinton lost non-college educated voters, it wasn't because of those voters' class, but rather their defensive perceptions about race and gender, perceptions that Trump exploited. When Trump insults Carly Fiorina, Megyn Kelly, and Hillary Clinton, he's laying his very mangled manhood on the table. When Trump says that the Mexican heritage of an Indiana judge makes him untrustworthy, he means that only white judges can be unbiased. When Trump says he fights for the working class and the silent majority, he wants you to hear, I'm putting white people first. The left says Black Lives Matter, the right says Blue Lives Matter. The left says undocumented immigrant, the right says illegal alien. The left says happy holidays, the right says why isn't Jesus on my Starbucks cup? Trump is alluding to white identity, but we never call it identity politics because whiteness is seen as the norm. And while white people are in the majority, pandering to their whiteness hasn't just given us Trump, it's also given us Richard Spencer, a guy who very much believes in identity politics as a tool. And Spencer's critique of Trump not overtly playing the white card is very telling.
If Donald Trump would ultimately become about identity, and he would ultimately understand America as historically as a white country. If he could understand that, I think he could dispense with all the talk of crime and rape and murder and just say, this is ours. You are not us. This country is for us.
No, it's not. Okay, fine. Take Florida. What Spencer's arguing for is to drop code words. And when you do that, Make America Great Again isn't a far cry from Make America White Again. And white identity politics aren't new, which is why they're more dangerous. They come on top of legacies of white supremacy, murdering natives, enslaving Africans for nearly 250 years, creating a system of legalized oppression through Jim Crow, preventing a woman's right to vote for 144 years after the country was founded. You know, all the great stuff. Right, T1J?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, not using identity politics is a privilege in and of itself. It's kind of its own identity, really. It's just the status quo of whiteness. Straight white men have the privilege of not having their opinions tinged by being brown or having a vagina. When I hear people say stuff like, hey, black people, stop bringing up race all the time, stop making everything about race, it's just kind of proof that you're not listening, because we are talking about race, but we're also talking about class and gender. It's all intertwined. Hashtag intersectionality. What we're saying is listen to us, because historically, as a society, you haven't been doing that. Identity politics isn't the problem. The racist and sexist society that causes people to use identity politics is.
Thank you, T1J. So maybe we should call identity politics intersectionality. And while we're at it, let's call the alt-right artisanal Nazis. Small batch Nazis? Hipster Nazis. Locally sourced. Woo! It's that time again, everybody. It's time to subscribe to Newsbroke. So get your little subscription fingers warm and click your way. Could this be any cornier to say subscribe? Subscribe to Newsbroke and, help us ninja chop all the trolls who are definitely crawling all over this video like lice in a preschool. Tell us what you think, too, about identity politics. Are they a problem? Are they just a buzzword to trivialize important issues? And would Richard Spencer seem less like a Nazi if he had a bowl haircut? Let us know. And as always, thank you for watching.